Assalamu alaikum. Today we're going to be talking about the attachments on the fibula, right? So let's talk about the attachments first on the atlas here, and then we'll go on to the actual fibula. So hopefully it'll be a little easier for you to grasp the concept of where the attachment is. Since the fibula is quite a narrow bone and it's a little hard to understand exactly where the borders and the various surfaces are. Let's just have a bit of a concept on the atlas first, and then we'll go and see on the actual bone as well. Now, since you know that the fibula has a medial surface, it has a lateral surface, and it has a posterior surface, right? Now, the medial surface is between the anterior border and the interosseous or medial border. So here we have the medial surface. Now the medial surface is a very narrow surface, and when you see it on the actual bone, it could just be like a few millimeters wide. So here you can see this here would be the medial surface, right? And on the medial surface, above, like on the upper part of the medial surface, you will have the origin of the extensor digitorum longus muscle all the way down till here, right? So this is the extensor digitorum longus muscle, right? And along with the medial surface of the fibula, it also extends onto the interosseous membrane, which is of course between the tibia and the fibula, and is attached to the interosseous borders of both of these bones. Now below the extensor digitorum longus muscle, we have the origin of the extensor hallucis longus muscle here, right? And in the lower part of the medial border, here you have the origin of the peroneus tertius or the fibularis tertius muscle, right? Now all these three muscles are muscles of the anterior compartment of the leg, right? Along with that, the fourth muscle is the tibialis anterior, which does not take origin from the fibula, but this is taking origin from the tibia, right? So these three muscles, the extensor digitorum longus, the extensor hallucis longus muscle, and the peroneus tertius, take origin from the medial surface of the fibula. Now moving on to the this here is the lateral surface, right? So the lateral surface of the fibula is between the anterior border and the posterior border of the fibula, right? So here you can see this here is the lateral surface, and on the lateral surface is the origin of two muscles of the lateral compartment of the leg. Now the lateral compartment of the leg only has these two muscles, which are known as the peroneus longus and the peroneus brevis muscles. So this one here is the peroneus longus, right? So this is the peroneus longus in the upper 2/3 of this lateral surface of the fibula, and then in the lower part of the fibula on the lateral surface you have the peroneus brevis muscle, and together these two muscles form the lateral compartment of the leg. Now when we talk about the posterior surface of the fibula, we know that the posterior surface is divided by the presence of a medial crest. So there's a medial crest in the middle of the posterior surface, and which this divides it into a lateral half and a medial half, right? So between the medial crest and between this medial crest and the posterior border, there is the origin of two muscles, the soleus muscle here and the flexor hallucis longus muscle here, right? So you have the medial crest here, then you have the posterior border, and in between these two borders, the medial crest and the posterior border, you have the soleus and the flexor hallucis longus muscle. Now these two of course are part of the posterior compartment, the muscles of the posterior compartment of the leg. Now, medial to the medial crest, so that would be between the medial crest and the medial border or the interosseous border of the fibula, you have a separate part, and from here, this part, you have the origin of the tibialis posterior muscle. After that, let's talk about the head of the fibula here. And on the head of the fibula, here you have the insertion of the biceps femoris muscle, right? Remember when we were doing the hamstrings, the biceps femoris is inserted onto the head of the fibula in the form of in the shape of a C, right? So there is a C-shaped insertion on the head of the fibula, and that insertion is by the biceps femoris muscle. Within this C-shaped insertion of biceps femoris, within this C shape, you have the attachment of the fibular collateral ligament of the knee joint. Okay, so I'm holding the fibula in my hand. Now it's a little bit hard just getting it within the frame of the camera since it's quite a long bone here. But so this is the fibula, and the way I'm holding it is in such a way that my thumb is on the posterior border, right? And my fingers are grasping the anterior border. And okay, let me show you close up. And just next to, so if this is the anterior border where my fingers are, just next to that, just a couple of millimeters away, would be the medial or the interosseous border, right? So here, this one here is the origin of the extensor digitorum longus muscle, right? It goes down a little bit as well. And then in the lower part, you have the origin of the extensor hallucis longus muscle, right? So both of these muscles originate from the medial surface. Now in the lower part, here you have the origin of the peroneus tertius muscle, if you can see clearly. So you have the extensor digitorum longus, then you have the extensor hallucis longus, and the inferior most would be the peroneus tertius. All three of these muscles take their origin from the medial surface of the fibula. Okay, so this here is the lateral surface of the fibula, and again my thumb is holding the posterior border and my fingers are adjacent to the anterior border. So between the anterior border and the posterior border, you have the lateral surface, right? So if you could see the upper end, and this would be the lower end, right? And this is actually forming the lateral surface or the lateral malleolus, right? So here you can see that in the upper part of this lateral surface, you have the origin of the peroneus longus muscle, and in the lower part of the lateral surface, you have the origin of the peroneus brevis muscle, and both of these muscles are muscles of the lateral compartment of the leg, and both of these muscles are everters at the ankle joint. Now you can see the posterior surface of the fibula, right? So the posterior surface of the fibula is between the interosseous border and the posterior border. Okay, now this posterior surface, it's divided into two parts by the presence of a medial crest in the center, right? So the medial crest, it divides the posterior surface into two halves, and between the medial crest and the medial border or the interosseous border, in this part we have the origin of the two muscles of the posterior compartment known as the soleus. So in its upper part, you will have the origin of the soleus muscle, and in the lower part of the posterior surface, between the medial crest and the medial border, you have the origin of the flexor hallucis longus muscle, right? So again, the posterior surface, you have the medial crest in the center, and in the upper 1/4 of this, between the medial crest and the medial border or the interosseous border, you have the origin of the soleus muscle, the muscle of the posterior compartment. And then in the lower part, the lower 3/4, I think, you have the origin of the flexor hallucis longus muscle, right? Then moving on to the part between the medial crest and the posterior border. Again, my thumb is holding the posterior border and my fingers are on the anterior border. It's important to remember that once you've realized which the anatomical position of the fibula is and which border is which, once you hold it in position, it's really quite helpful if you keep it the same way while you're deciding where each and every muscle is going to be present. Just gives you a better and easier understanding of the bone in its anatomical position, right? So okay, so I hope it's not too messy, but this here is the origin of the tibialis posterior muscle, right? So we did the soleus and the flexor hallucis longus earlier, and between the medial crest and the posterior border you have the origin of the tibialis posterior muscle, right? So this is the head of the fibula, and here you can see I've drawn. Now I'm using the same colored marker for both the origins and insertions because I wanted to use a marker which was dark enough for you to see on the bone. So this here is the C-shaped insertion of the biceps femoris muscle, and within that C-shaped insertion you have the attachment of the fibular collateral ligament. Now again, on the head of the fibula, here you have a facet which is responsible for articulation with the fibular facet on the tibia, right? On the lateral condyle of the tibia you have a facet for articulation with the fibula, and this is where that articulation takes place on the fibula, and along the margins of this facet you have the attachment of the capsule for the superior tibiofibular joint, right? So we've done the surfaces. Let's move on to the borders, right? So the anterior border, okay, try and make it as visible as possible, but on the anterior border of the fibula you have the attachment of the anterior intermuscular septum, right? And just like that, on the posterior border you have the attachment of the posterior intermuscular septum, and on the medial border, so this is the anterior border here, and just next to that you will have the medial border, and on that medial border you have the interosseous membrane attached. Now the anterior border, right? Okay, hang on. So the anterior border, in its lower part it divides to form a triangular surface which is then continuous with the lateral surface of the lateral malleolus. In the lower part of the anterior border of this triangular surface is the attachment of the superior extensor retinaculum, right? Now we're going to talk about these retinacula just like in the upper limb we had flexor and extensor retinaculum. In the lower limb as well we have numerous retinacula to keep the tendons in place. So we have the superior extensor retinaculum attached here, and on the posterior border of this triangular area we have the attachment of the superior peroneal retinaculum, right? Now this might be a little bit confusing because we're going to have quite a few attachments in this small area just now, but let's go over these and hopefully they'll be a little bit more clear for you. So we talked about the fact that along the anterior border you have the anterior intermuscular septum. Along the medial border you have the attachment of the interosseous membrane, right? Now this interosseous membrane in its upper part leaves a little bit of a gap, right? And this gap is for the passage of the anterior tibial vessels. And just like that, similarly in the lower part of the interosseous membrane again there is a gap which allows for the passage of the perforating branch of the peroneal artery. Now moving on to the triangular area. So this is the medial surface of the lateral malleolus. Okay, now there's a triangular area here above this medial surface of the lateral malleolus. Now in this triangular area you have the attachment of a few ligaments, right? So in the center you would have the interosseous tibiofibular ligament. After that, anteriorly, so my fingers are towards the anterior border. So anteriorly is the anterior tibiofibular ligament, and this is the posterior border. So posteriorly you have the posterior tibiofibular ligament. So this is the lateral malleolus, but the medial surface of the lateral malleolus. Okay, so turning it around now, this is the lateral malleolus, and on the lateral malleolus, this here would be the anterior border. Now on the anterior border, you have the attachment of the anterior talofibular ligament, right? On the anterior surface of the lateral malleolus, you will have the anterior talofibular ligament, right? Now moving this fibula like that. So this is again the medial surface. Here we have the 3 tibiofibular ligaments that we just talked about, and this is the malleolar fossa where my thumb is, right? So just below this fossa here you have the posterior talofibular ligament, right? So on the anterior surface of the lateral malleolus you had the anterior talofibular ligament, and on the medial surface where you have the malleolar fossa, just below this fossa you have the posterior talofibular ligament. Now above this fossa is the attachment of a ligament which is known as the inferior transverse tibiofibular ligament. Okay, now again on the medial surface of the lateral malleolus, here you have the articular facet for articulation with the talus, and along the margins of this facet you will have the attachment of the capsule, of course. Now on the inferior border here of the lateral malleolus, you can see that there's a slight notch here, right? So the slight notch, if you look at it here, now you can see it better. So there's a slight notch here, and in this notch this gives attachment to the calcaneofibular ligament. Okay, now on the posterior surface of the lateral malleolus there's a groove here, and this groove allows for the passage of the tendons of the 2 muscles of the lateral compartment of the leg, and these 2 muscles are the peroneus longus and the peroneus brevis. So the tendons of those pass through a groove here and move on into the foot. Now let's talk about the clinically important aspects of the fibula. When it comes to the fibular fractures, the fibular fractures are usually associated with the fracture dislocations of the ankle joint, and these fracture dislocations of the ankle joint usually occur whenever there is a sudden excessive inversion of the foot, and this sudden inversion of the foot, severe inversion of the foot, would then lead to pressing of the talus against the lateral malleolus and causing a fracture. Right, so as you can see here, there is a severe inversion of the foot here. So this would lead to this the talus against the lateral malleolus and resulting in the fracture, right? So this is a common way or a common cause of fibular fractures. Now it is important to note that clinically the fibula is quite important for bone grafts, and the reason for that, of course, is that the fibula, it is a non-weight bearing bone, right? So whenever there is we need to reconstruct a bone after a trauma, or if there is a congenital anomaly, and we need a good long bone, the fibula is a really good candidate for that. And usually whenever we're using the fibula for this bone graft, the middle 1/3 part of the fibula is used. And the reason for that is that in the lower part of the fibula, now the lower part of the fibula gives stability to the ankle joint, right? And the upper part of the fibula is there you have a nerve around the neck of the fibula, right? And the common peroneal nerve. So usually one reason is that we take the central part, the middle 1/3 part of the fibula, and even if we take it out, it does not affect the mobility of the person at all. And secondly, also, if we need to take the graft, the middle part is the part which has the nutrient foramen, right? And it has the nutrient artery. So we can take the graft from the middle part, and the nutrient artery also goes along with that part. And so the graft will remain alive and it will grow when it is transplanted to the new site, right? So that's about it. The various muscle attachments on the fibula and the clinical importance of bone grafts from the fibula, as well as just a brief overview of the fibular fractures. Thank you very much.